Here we've got a lovely AB165 Bassman, patented design and circuits. Pretty good shape. It's been well taken care of. I'd say cosmetically, it's an 8 with aspects of it even better. The little metal sliders on the bottom, you can't see in the shot, have been replaced at some point, but the chassis is not rusted. I saw that. Let me take this out of the cab, and then we'll take a look inside. All right, the chassis looks really nice. It's that really pretty nickel-plated chassis that they were using around 65, and the transformers on the output and choke do have 1965 date codes. The power transformer has a 1962 date code. More on that to come, but it's from a 62 Bassman. It is not the same used in the typical 65 Bassman. The 4 screws that hold the doghouse on were all loosened at weird angles, but that might have just been vibration over the years. But let's open it up and see what we got. All right, it's got that feeling like the original foam's in place. Yeah, all right. All the original caps, little bubbles happening here and there. Pretty typical, but there's not been any big leakage. There's not been any fire. I'm not that concerned about it. This should be a very easy thing to bring up to, catch up and do a little limited time travel on. Some smudge here and there. That'll all clean up. Very promising. I'm going to make sure all this hardware is tight before I flip it over, and then we'll take a look inside. Well, all the screws seem good except this one on the choke. This one on the choke can no longer be tightened. It's just in there. That's a sheet metal screw. So I could either replace it with a larger diameter sheet metal screw or replace it with the same diameter machine screw with a nut on the other side. I'm pretty sure that's what I'll end up doing unless it's too close to the bias adjustment trim pot. We don't want the choke breaking loose, and that screw could snap off because it's not tight, and that's not good. But that's what I often find in these old amps. The sheet metal screws just don't last. It's just a thing. All right, this is a pretty standard restoration. It has had almost no work done to this over the years. It is from 65. You can see that there is just barely room for me to replace that sheet metal screw that holds the choke in place with a machine screw and nut, so it won't interfere with the bias. We're going to change all the electrolytic caps out. I will go through and verify that all the resistors are the correct value, and we'll check for rushing water noises and stuff later. And the AB165 has got some wires that go between the two boards, the main board and the insulation board. Sometimes those wires get compressed to run too close to other things and noise is introduced. So there's always something with an AB165, but you've seen those on the channel before. If you haven't, go check all my vintage Fender playlists. There's tons of AB165 videos up already. This is the special feature here I mentioned that lets them use this 62 Bassman power transformer and this 65 with a different circuit. They've got the HT center tap through this Zener diode, which drops the voltage to where it needs to be. This essentially says, oh, this transformer's got too much voltage. We'll drop it using this. Now, this generates heat, but they tend to last a long time. Fender typically chose diodes rated for more current and power, etc., and heat than will be present. So this is a pretty good solution if you run out of stock on the one you expect to use and you use up old stock, or you have some old stock you need to use before you start using the new one, because this might be a fairly early 65, AB165. We'll find out as we go through. Let me show you the rest of the amp. Actually, first, we've got to change out these badly replaced screen grids. It should be a single, in this case, 1 watt 470 ohm, but it's not. It's these two. Looks like 5 watts put together. And let's see here. It's going to be getting a grounded power cable, obviously, because that's all kinds of the yuck. And the rest of it's just a really good example of an unmolested AB165. So aside from cleaning it and verifying that everything's good, I don't plan on molesting it much, though there are a few little tweaks that I will show as we get to them to make this the best it has ever been. So I'll be getting all the parts list together for this. I'll talk to the owner And once everything arrives, we'll get started. Until then, thanks for watching.